Vampires have haunted human folklore for centuries. Over time, these creatures have evolved. We've gone from the aristocratic lords of European castles to mindless biological mutants tearing through modern sci-fi cities. With so many distinct variations across pop culture and gaming, you have to wonder, if you weigh their supernatural gifts against their biological flaws, which specific class of vampire is actually the most difficult to eliminate? This survival threat matrix evaluates 8 vampire classes. The x-axis measures intelligence, while the y-axis tracks invulnerability to weaknesses. To plot these targets, we judge 3 criteria: raw power, strategic planning, and exploitable flaws. By applying a systematic breakdown to centuries of fragmented lore, we can pinpoint exactly where each monster lands on the matrix, identifying the ultimate apex predator. We start with the classic vampire. These are the creatures that shaped modern storytelling. They survive by drinking human blood, live forever, and use their supernatural charm to hide seamlessly within human high society. This highly romanticized, aristocratic version of the monster wasn't always the standard. It was cemented worldwide in the late 19th century, heavily driven by the literature of authors like Bram Stoker. But that eternal life and societal influence comes with a steep biological cost. Classic vampires suffer from crippling, hard-coded weaknesses. A wooden stake will kill them, and they are completely incapable of surviving sunlight, forcing them to hunt strictly under the cover of darkness. The Nosferatu class takes a completely different path. As we see in this 1922 film still, they trade the charming aristocratic facade for a corpse-like appearance, pale skin, and elongated claws. Because they cannot seduce their victims, the Nosferatu rely on a hunting strategy built purely around psychological terror. They stalk their prey from the shadows, utilizing fear rather than charm. Their monstrous anatomy is a massive liability. They are entirely isolated from human society because they are instantly identifiable. There is no hiding in plain sight for a Nosferatu. Both of these ancestral types laid the groundwork for vampire lore, but their highly exploitable flaws, whether it's an absolute allergy to the sun or an unmistakable physical deformity, severely limit their chances of survival against an organized threat. Before the aristocratic classics, there were the Strigoi. This rural landscape points to their origin in older European folklore, where these restless spirits were born from curses and dark magic rather than simple bloodlust. Modern interpretations, like the Strain, have reimagined the Strigoi as a terrifying parasitic threat. They operate less like individuals and more like a plague, capable of rapidly infecting entire cities to create a massive hive mind swarm. The swarm provides incredible numbers, but it creates a critical biological bottleneck. The entire network is usually tethered to a single central master. If you destroy that one source, the rest of the horde collapses. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have elder vampires. These are the absolute oldest, most powerful, and highly intelligent members of the vampire race. Surviving for hundreds, sometimes thousands of years, grants elders absolute political rule over entire vampire societies. They possess physical strength and supernatural abilities that far exceed any ordinary vampire. Yet their longevity breeds deep arrogance. Elders rely on rigid hierarchies that blind them to new, evolving threats. If caught off guard, they are highly vulnerable to ancient magic or heavily coordinated attacks with traditional weaponry. Scaling up a vampire threat introduces systemic flaws. Whether you rely on the massive numbers of a parasitic swarm or the raw power of an ancient ruler, you leave yourself exposed through either a central biological weak point or blinding hubris. Next, we strip away the magic and the elegance entirely to look at the feral vampire. These creatures behave exactly like wild animals, driven purely by the biological urge to feed. Their physical threat level is intense. A feral attack means facing relentless speed, sharp claws, and overwhelming aggression without a single moment of hesitation. But ferals lack the capacity for rational thought. They do not speak or plan. That lack of strategic intelligence makes them easy targets for organized human resistance, who can reliably outsmart and trap them. We also have the mutated vampire. In these scenarios, the folklore curse is replaced by modern science. These variants are born from lab-created viruses, parasites, or genetic anomalies. Because their condition is biological, they spread their infection exponentially like a disease. They develop monstrous physical enhancements, And since there is no supernatural element, traditional religious artifacts are completely useless against them. By shifting from magic to biology, they invite modern human retaliation. A biological threat can be countered with scientific cures, concentrated UV radiation technology, and advanced biological warfare. Replacing a curse with a virus creates a fast-spreading, highly lethal variant. However, a mindless feral predator and a biologically vulnerable mutant both fail the test of true invulnerability. This brings us to the anomalies, the hybrids. The Dhampir is a creature born from both worlds, carrying half human and half vampire DNA. By inheriting the biological traits of both species, the Dhampir gains a massive tactical advantage. They possess the supernatural strength and speed of a vampire, but their human side makes them highly resistant to the weaknesses that would instantly kill a full bloodsucker. The cost is a life of isolation. They are still burdened with the vampire thirst, yet they are rejected by both human and vampire societies. This alienation forces them into a life of constant, brutal warfare, frequently operating as dedicated hunters. An even rarer biological exception is the Daywalker. This variant successfully neutralizes the absolute greatest environmental threat to the vampire race, the sun. The threat level of a Daywalker is catastrophic. They maintain all the offensive supernatural powers of their ancestors while walking and hunting freely, 24 hours a day. By eliminating the barrier of daylight, these hybrids rewrite the rules of survival, completely breaking the natural balance that keeps humanity safe. This chart brings all of our data together. By plotting our 8 classes on the threat matrix, we can finally answer our initial question: which class possesses the most resilient survival strategy? The extremes eliminate themselves. Ferals and mutants drop to the bottom left due to their complete lack of strategic intelligence. Classics and elders possess the intellect, but their rigid, highly exploitable weaknesses drag their data points straight down into the vulnerable bottom right quadrant. That leaves the top right quadrant. By combining high strategic intelligence with near total invulnerability, the Daywalker and the Dhampir secure their position at the absolute peak of the matrix. The survival advantage is clear. When you retain the offensive power of vampire biology, leverage the tactical adaptability of a human mind, and remove the fatal trade-off of sunlight, you create the ultimate predator. The Daywalker is effectively unkillable. Traditional wards and magic fail against them. And for humanity, the ultimate survival tactic, simply locking your doors and waiting for the morning sun, is no longer an option.